Hi everyone, thank you so much for joining me today. I'm so grateful. In today's video, I wanted to talk about triggering patterns in your manifestation process and also in general. What are these triggering patterns actually? Why do they happen? And what you can do to dissolve them. So, what are triggers? What are triggering patterns? Let's talk about that for a bit. Um, Triggers are it's something that brings up negative emotions in you. It could be after an event, after any incident, after any kind of conversation, after any kind of argument. It's that part inside you that brings up negative emotions. What does it feel like? It can feel like a very angry emotion. It can feel like an emotion which is full of rage. It can feel upsetting, definitely. It can feel very urgent. Urgent as in you need to react to it. You need to give a reaction. You need to solve it right now. You need to say or do something. And it's just that whole body language you have when you're triggered about something. You won't even know yourself half of the time how you're going to react to something. What are the words that might come out of your mouth? What are the things you can say, or what are the ways you can actually physically react to something? Now, what are triggering patterns? Patterns is nothing but something that becomes really repetitive in your identity, personality, in your physical reality. So, if there's something that triggers you, whenever it was formed, years back, months back, it's a recent trigger that has started coming up. If it sets very deeply within you, in your emotions, in your body, mind, everywhere, if it sits deeply, there's a very high chance that when that kind of situation, conversation, or argument takes place again, you would be triggered again. So, if it repeats more than once, it can become a pattern, and that's how you have your triggering patterns. Now, it might be difficult to go down the rabbit hole and try to recognize when exactly you started feeling this trigger if it is something that started really early on, like your childhood days. It would be difficult to go back, go down the memory lane and try to go back in time and recognize that what exactly happened for these triggers to make a permanent place inside my emotions and my body and my mind. But if it is something that has happened during your teenage years, your school life, your college life, adulthood, then it would be comparatively easier for you to sit with yourself and try to recognize what kind of situations did set this trigger within you, which now is just repeating itself and has become a regular pattern for me. Where do our triggers come from? Why do our triggers come? Why do they make a permanent place in our mind, in our body, and make us react in a way that is not really a really good version of us, right? When we are reacting to our triggers, uh, when everything is over, when that situation has settled itself down, usually when you reflect back, right? Most of the time, yes, this thought might come into your head that I could have reacted better. I know this thing triggers me. Maybe I should work on it. Maybe I can react better. Maybe there are two or three different ways to react to it, which could be more calm and not aggravate the situation even further. So, definitely, when you sit down and reflect on these kind of things later on, these things come to your mind. But in that moment when you're triggered, even if you've had that reflection many times before, in that moment, your body and your mind just can't help it but react in an unpleasant way. You're already feeling unpleasant because of what's happening. In turn, you're reacting in an unpleasant manner. And that's how everything just gets really worse, right? For all the parties that are involved. So it could be because of a lot of reasons that certain triggers are set within you or are really dominant within you or have become such a regular and normal part of your identity that you're not even able to detach yourself from it and see it as a third person that these are my triggers. These would be specifically for those triggers that have set in within your body and mind early on, like your childhood days. Everything that is happening in your life, all your experiences, all the kinds of people you meet, all the kinds of things and situations you deal with, all the happy things, all the difficult things that you have to overcome, everything is something that forms you as a person. It forms your personality, it forms your nature, it forms your character, it kind of dictates how you walk in this world, how you talk to people, how you interact, react, what kind of actions you take, everything. And if you've had negative experiences, unpleasant experiences, it could be with your caregivers, with your parents, with your siblings, in your friend circle, early on in your childhood, in your school life, in your adult life, in your work life. It could be anywhere. Throughout our life, we are meeting people, we are interacting with people, we are dealing with situations. That never stops, right? Because once you're out there, once you're outside your house, these are the kind of things, people and places you need to deal with, and it's going to be always there. So we experience different kind of things every day and through all the stages of our life, and those experiences form our beliefs, those experiences form our thought patterns, our emotions. Now, because we know that your beliefs, your dominant beliefs within you, which you call as your inner world. What is your inner world? Your inner world is what's going on within you. Your mind, your body, your emotions, what you're thinking, what your dominant beliefs are. That's what creates your reality. Your inner world reflects outside, and then things, people, places show up in a similar manner to ensure that the belief system within you is true. So now that we have covered what triggers are, what triggering patterns are, what they look like, what they feel like, and how are they actually formed, we can look at a few examples. Now, the example I'm going to use in this video is going to be from the perspective of a relationship, because I'm not trying to limit and say that nothing else in your life can cause you triggers, but relationships and romantic relationships is one area where you kind of need to do this constant inner work to ensure that you are in a good space mentally, physically, emotionally. That's the area that is easiest for us to set in triggers, right? That is the area which easily disappoints us, easily makes us feel hurt. It's not the same way with friends or family most of the time. This won't apply to everyone, but most of the time. But in relationships, even the smallest things can kind of let you down. So it's easy to develop a lot of triggers when you are in a relationship, and especially if you have experienced unpleasant relationships in your past. So, for example, you feel ignored in your relationship. Uh, you feel you are not heard. You feel you're not seen. You think your presence is not felt. So maybe it wouldn't have mattered if I was even here right now. Those kind of things. You don't feel considered. You don't feel your partner is thoughtful enough to include you in important things, include you in decisions, include you in discussions. Now, why are you feeling ignored? Okay, uh, you can sit with yourself and try to recognize. You have to put in that work, right? If you are really determined that these are my triggers and I need to work on it, so you need to take that time out to sit with yourself, have a conversation with yourself, try to recall things and incidents and situations where you think these triggers started setting in for you. So you can go back as early as your childhood. It is possible that you felt ignored in your house. It's possible you felt ignored, overlooked by your caregivers, by your parents. Maybe you were in a house where there were a lot of siblings and you felt you were overlooked, and other people were given more importance, other children, other siblings, whatever it may be. Or when you became a teenager and you started making friends, maybe you were one of the friends that was least important in the circle, and tomorrow if you leave that circle it wouldn't make a difference. That kind of thought pattern. Maybe you were not invited everywhere, maybe you were just in the circle for the heck of it and no one really cared. Maybe you were not invited for sleepovers while the other people in the circle were. or any kind of birthday parties, any kind of other participation related things. Or maybe when you started working at your workplace, you felt excluded from certain projects, certain responsibilities, other people getting more importance for no reason, even though your work is better and the way you conduct yourself is better, the way you bring discipline to work is better. Or the biggest thing is relationships, romantic relationships. If you've had past romantic relationships where you have already felt ignored, where you have already felt overlooked, you have already felt you were not important enough to be included in things or to be having a conversation about the important things in a relationship, or your opinions were dismissed, they were not considered as useful or important or impactful. So the triggers could have come from anywhere. And now, because you have experienced that, whether it was in one area or several areas, that trigger is already set in within you. And what happens is, because that trigger is set in within you, you are going to be reflecting it everywhere, even with the new people who are entering your life, romantically or otherwise. You're going to reflect those belief systems outside. And because the outer world is your reflection, that's how people are going to show up. Either that's how people are going to show up because you're attracting that kind of behavior from other people, or they would eventually turn into that kind of person. Maybe in the beginning, when they're coming in and they're showing up, they are fine, they are thoughtful, they are considerate, and they are being respectful. You feel heard, seen, and present when they are around. And then eventually you see that fading away. Eventually you see them changing their personality. Eventually you again come back to square one, where you feel, see, it's happening. I know this happens always. It does not matter if the person was considerate, thoughtful in the beginning. I always end up having these kind of people in my life that eventually make me feel ignored. All these affirmations you're doing, even though it's based on your real life experience, doesn't matter, but you're affirming it again and again to have it created even more, right? All these things you're saying within you, you're feeling within you, this is your inner dialogue. You're talking to yourself and you're reaffirming that, yes, see, it happened. It's going to happen. I always know it's going to happen. I don't know when it's going to stop. It's going to stop when you stop reaffirming it. Okay? This is the area where the work comes in. First thing is to recognize that yes, I am creating it. It's my triggering patterns, it's my belief system that keeps reflecting in the outer reality. Okay. Second thing is deciding for yourself, do you want to work on it? If you don't want to work on something related to you, anything related to you physically, mentally, no one can help you do that. Okay, so that is something you have to take into your own hands. You have to take the responsibility and understand, talk with yourself, and genuinely know, do you want to work on it? Okay. If yes, you do want to work on it, that's when the work comes in. Now, what does the work look like? How can you do the work? What is this work? People keep saying, do the inner work, do the work. I know it can be confusing when you don't get the correct knowledge, process, content around it. So I'm going to try to break down to you what that work looks like and how it's connected to your inner world. Now, as I was using the example of a relationship, okay, uh, maybe you have attracted in a person who is already someone who doesn't consider you isn't thoughtful, okay. Maybe you have attracted a person who was thoughtful and considerate in the beginning, but now you feel ignored, which means eventually the person has turned into something else, someone else, like their version has changed to ensure it aligns with your belief system, okay. Now, I was talking about taking responsibility, right? What happens when you take responsibility? When you start taking responsibility for your 3D reality, not at a surface level, but at a deeper level, okay? I have explained what this surface level and deeper level things mean in one of the videos. I'll link it up here so you can understand what I'm trying to explain. You automatically dissolve the blame game. Okay, blame game comes with a lot of things. It comes with resentment, it comes with grudges, it comes with a feeling of revenge. So it could include a lot of things. When you start taking the responsibility of your 3D and what's happening right now, the patterns that are repeating, it's my responsibility because it's aligning with my belief system. 3D is doing nothing wrong. Its work is to align with my belief system. My belief system can be negative, positive. It's just going to show it to me, right? So once you stop blaming the 3D, once you stop blaming the person, the place, the situation, and take on that responsibility, you automatically dissolve the blame game. You automatically start dropping, gradually and slowly dropping the resentment, the grudges, and a lot of related feelings that are unpleasant. When are you not able to take responsibility of something that is happening in your 3D? Is when you are still in that state of being that believes there is a separation between you and everything else outside. And this I'm talking in terms of energy, what kind of mindset you should have in general when you are on this journey of conscious manifestation. There's one energy. There's no separation between you or anyone else outside there. There's no separation between you and what you desire in the outer reality. Okay? Everything is connected, everyone is connected, it's one energy. When you separate the 3D, when you separate your desire from you, when you separate people, places, and situations from you, you see it as a separate being. When you see your desire as something that is separate from you, that is what increases your resistance to manifest it in your reality, because you constantly think about it in a way that I am here, what I'm seeking is there, what I'm seeking has its own will, power, control. There are so many people, situations, and issues between me and what I'm seeking, what I'm desiring. So, creating that separation between you and what you desire is never going to be favorable to you. So once you stop creating that separation, once you take the responsibility of your 3D reality, a lot of unpleasant emotions and reactions will start dissolving away. Now, what is the difference between blame game and taking responsibility? One is easier, one is difficult. Okay. When we do this blame game, when we are blaming people, when we are blaming the situation, it's easier. It's easier to get rid of a responsibility. It's comfortable, it's easier to do, it doesn't take much of your time, and you don't really work on putting in efforts to stabilize the situation just by doing the blame game. Taking responsibility, on the other hand, while it may seem like something more difficult, why is it a better option? And this I'm talking generally in life, yes, but from a manifestation perspective. When you take responsibility for what's happening in your 3D, for what is showing up, for how your specific person is showing up, or how generally people are showing up, it has a lot of power in it. Okay, what do I mean by that? When I take responsibility of how my 3D is showing up, I feel a power within me, because if this is something I have created, okay, if something that I don't even find pleasant, I don't even find desirable, favorable, I don't want to experience it. If I'm so powerful, my inner world, my thoughts and beliefs are so powerful to have something unpleasant created in my reality, which I did not even want, I am equally powerful to have it changed, to have it recreated. I have all the power. If I can create this, I can also dissolve this away and create a favorable reality. So that's where your power lies. Taking responsibility is powerful. Taking responsibility means you are willing to put in the efforts to change it, to recreate it, to bring in something so favorable and desirable that will help you in experiencing good things, right? You're doing this for yourself. It will bring peace to you. It will bring peace to your environment. It will bring peace to the people involved in those kind of situations. So when you have done all these things, when you know there's nothing separate from you, it's all one energy, when you know you are responsible for your 3D, when you have recognized your patterns, when you have convinced yourself that yes, you will work on your patterns, that's where the work comes in. What is this work now? This work is recreating your beliefs, because this is what will reflect outside. Okay, recreating the whole situation by recreating the beliefs in your inner world, in your mind, in your body. Again, coming back to the example of a specific person and a relationship, if you feel ignored, if you feel not considered, if you feel dismissed, cut off, not seen, okay, and it's happening once in a while, once in a week, or every day, does not matter, okay, it's irrelevant. You need to go in your inner world, okay, and you need to be in your end result. What is your end result? Your end result is to feel seen, to feel considered, to feel like an important part of this relationship. All the important discussions and conversations are done with me. I'm included in everything. Affirm, have an inner dialogue, visualize whatever you feel comfortable with, and be in your end state. What is your end state? Where you feel seen, where you feel heard, where you feel important enough in the relationship, and all the important conversations, discussions, decisions around this relationship. You have to stop reacting, okay? I know it's easier said than done, but that's where your discipline and persistence needs to come into place. That is something you need to ensure you're doing, okay? When you start taking responsibility of you creating your reality, and then you remove separation, and you know you want to work on this, right? That's when practicing not reacting gets easier and easier, okay? It will get easier. Let a few days and weeks pass by, it will get easier. So you will not react. Why will you not react? You will start slowly developing this confidence within you when you are working on dissolving these triggers and recreating your specific person and the reality. You will start automatically developing this confidence in your manifestation journey, where you know that I have created this, I can easily change it, I can easily create something desirable. Okay, that confidence is going to help you with your fears and doubts and reactions. So it's all a step by step progress that you will witness it for yourself. So stop reacting every time you see it happening, every time you're faced with an unpleasant conversation or situation, or just a feeling in general that unpleasant, that you are not seen or considered. Practice going to your inner world and having visualizations or inner dialogues, repeat it, where you are being considered, where you are being approached and asked for things, where you are being requested to sit down to have a discussion, okay? And you need to make that your dominant state of being. So right now, your dominant state of being is feeling ignored. And right now, your inner work is starting here, right? It needs to come up, and automatically this will start going down. How many times should you practice? Every time you feel it, you can practice it, okay? Every time you feel bad about a situation, you can sit with yourself, if that's the kind of environment you're in, or you can do it before sleeping or after waking up, that this is not the reality I'm choosing. So I'm not even going to entertain it or respond to you or react to it, because this is being recreated right now within me, and in no time it's going to show up outside, because it has to. 3D always has to align with your belief system. Now, because I'm working on my belief system, I am working on my trigger patterns. I am working on taking responsibility and knowing my power of creation. I'm tapping into my God state. I know I create my reality. I know what I want to desire is going to show up in no time. So this is how you do the inner work. In inner work, you need to maintain discipline and you need to persist in it. Why do you need to repeat? Why do you need to persist? Because it's something that is deeply rooted within you. And to take out those roots and plant something new, you need repetition and persistence, right? Something very easy that you don't have resistance around will not trigger you. You won't care about it. It will manifest easily also and very fast within few days, few hours. Something that you have resistance around, that triggers you, that brings unpleasant emotions and reactions, right? That requires more efforts, more discipline, more persistence. Nothing is impossible. It's all about where you need to put a little more effort and where you don't really need to put any efforts. Where you get triggered, those kind of areas, relationships, specific person, you need to put in that discipline. You need to persist in those new beliefs so that the scale which I was talking about starts coming up. The more you practice the favorable reality in your inner world, you make it dominant, your confidence comes up, you know it's going to show up. These patterns will start dissolving away, fading away by default. So the transformation stage from here to here might take some time, might not take some time. It's not a limited belief I'm trying to put out there. It's really subjective to each person's journey. The kind of work you're putting in, the efforts you're putting in, the practice you're putting in, how fast are you making it dominant within you? Within a few days, great. Within a few weeks, still great. It's your progress, it's your speed. Just maintain that confidence within you. Just maintain that God state within you. Just maintain that power of creation within you. Keep tapping into it, and you will slowly start fading away and dissolving your fears, your doubts, your triggers. It's going to be a gradual but very pleasant progress. Okay, so that's all I wanted to talk about in this video. I really hope this explanation and this video brings a lot of peace to your manifestation process and really helps you in understanding how you can dissolve these triggering patterns. I really want everyone watching this to create a really favorable and desirable reality where when you wake up in the morning, you feel really good about your day. You feel really good about the people you have surrounded yourself with. And you feel really proud of the life that you have created for yourself, right? So your inner world is a really magical place. Go within, do whatever work is required to be done, and really change everything around you. Recreate everything that you don't prefer, that you don't wish to experience. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe before leaving the channel for more engagement.